I'm Glenn McGinnis, and this is Outburst. This week, should Remembrance Day be a national holiday?
Yes, I believe it should. Absolutely.
No, I think there are other causes that may need a holiday more than Remembrance Day.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised that it's not.
I'm thinking that we're good with what we do, actually.
For our first segment, we sent our cameras out to give Canadians the opportunity to express their thoughts and gratitude to those who so bravely fought for our freedom. Our question:
what is your message to Canada's war veterans?
Just thank you for your service. I mean, imagine going out on a field of battle, not knowing what's going to happen. Your life could be ended in a second. You could be wounded. Your family's back home. You never know if or when you'll see them, and you got to go into battle and fight and put your life on the line. That's an enormous contribution to democracy, to our country, and we thank you for that.
Thank you. I was born in the 30s and grew up as a young boy in World War II. And then I had some of my school friends actually were killed in the Korean War. So, yeah, thank you.
Really, we always should value people who serve for this country, and we don't always recognize the freedoms that we have, and we just have to look elsewhere in the world to realize that we do have freedoms, although we still do have a long way to go.
I would say thank you, for keeping us safe, protecting the peace, and making Canada what it is now, without they actually putting their life on the line and sacrificing for the freedom of the people. I just want to say, big up and thank you to all the veterans.
A big thank you and a large appreciation for all that they've done and for the life that we get to live as a result of that. Thank you.
We definitely want them to know that we're grateful for their service, to begin with. To let them know that they're still important in today's light, for sure. Basically a question of relevance.
Thank you.
Thank you
for your service.
Yeah, and I just hope that every year that young people don't forget the sacrifice, and not even the war veterans, but the people at home, women as well, what they did.
For the war veterans, gosh, there's not a lot of them left, but all I have to say is thank you for being willing to lay down your life for this country that we have.
Just big thank you. We can't walk around the streets and do normal day things if we didn't have those kind of people around, and the people that sacrifice their lives and their time and everything like that, right?
Thank you so much for your service. Simple as that.
The only thing I'd add is thank you so much for your service, your sacrifice, and we remember.
My message to Canadian veterans this year would be a large thank you. What a huge sacrifice to make on our behalf. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you for the sacrifices you made. I happened to go on the 75th anniversary of D-Day and walk through all the battle sites from Juno all the way through Normandy, and I walked through so many cemeteries of young Canadians that have been killed, and all I can say is thank you for your sacrifice, because we reap the benefits every day for it. Thank you.
Thank you for our service, and we all appreciate you.
My message would be I'm very thankful for everything you guys have done for us, and I really wish there was more that you could do, or they would do for you. And just thank you.
My message to Canada's war veterans would be thank you. Thank you for your service, putting your time and energy in for your country and for our freedoms that should not be taken for granted, but acknowledged for your sacrifice. Thank you very much.
What would my message be? Make sure, well, you're our heroes for sure, and make sure as parents you educate your kids about, what went on and why they are heroes, because they're special people for sure.
So I'd like to say to them, thank you, first off. You've put your lives on the line so that the rest of us can have a better life.
Canada's veterans in conflicts past and present have put themselves in harm's way on our behalf. Many have made the ultimate sacrifice, and for many more, the mental and physical scars continue to this day. But are they getting the respect they deserve, and what more could the federal government do on their behalf? Our question.
What more could Canada do to honor its men and women in uniform?
By giving them better benefits, better health care, better living, and looking after them when they come home, especially if they need health and mental care.
Well, I think they need better support. There's a lot of news about them having not enough housing, not enough support for PTSD, so I think we need to look after people who fought for our country, both currently as well as in the past.
I think when they're injured in war, I think they should get a lot better care.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be lacking. I'm not positive, but sometimes it seems to be lacking in their, their
aftercare.
Aftercare.
And not just physical, but like emotional and psychological support. I sometimes see things on the news where they're debating about these issues, and I think this is a non-issue. You should not even be debating about this. It's very, very important.
Just having conversations like this, it's always important to just give respect where respect's due, and make light of the situation, or enlightenment would be essentially attention to, right? So just giving more gratitude and attention to many areas. And when we're talking Remembrance Day, that's a pretty serious topic and something that means a lot to myself and a lot of families.
I think education for sure. I know some schools do a very good job at educating their kids and students, and usually the kids are coming home and educating their parents because they're learning a lot. I don't think schools do enough. There's some that, I remember when my kids were little and they were learning all that at school, they'd come home with art or they'd come home with stories, and they actually wanted to watch movies, like war movies and stuff like that. So I feel like their schools did a very good job, and they asked a lot of really good questions. I don't think all schools do what they should. So education for sure.
Awesome. Appreciate them more, learn to appreciate them more and what they've done for us.
The needs of our veterans in Canada as well as in other countries across the world have become much more complex. And they're dealing right now with psychological issues and trauma that requires a much more urgent level of service than they're getting. So I think we need to do a lot more in that regard.
From my understanding, I think the Veterans Affairs needs some support in making sure that veterans can get all of the services that they need, especially for PTSD and mental health support for both serving and retired.
Well, I think they're on the right track right now, but they have to continue with what they're talking about. There's a lot of talk about the harassment that people have received, but they need to go forward with it. And I think they're on the right track. They have to continue. Another thing they can do for them is pay them a fair wage, benefits, but honor all the benefits that they say they're going to get after they serve.
What more can be done? I think we need to remember and make sure that our kids and our grandkids and everyone remembers and doesn't forget, because even at my age, we're starting to forget what's actually happening.
Increase the military budget. I think that's plain and simple, and that's what I think we should do.
Well, that's a good question. I guess just make sure that they all have enough money, because I've heard that a lot of our veterans do struggle. That, if they didn't have a job where they made lots of money themselves, their pension isn't enough, especially in BC where housing is so expensive. Yes, and just any other medical expenses they have or whatever, they shouldn't have to want for anything.
Like I said, making it a national holiday, which is good, and also recognizing the wives. I mean, we were left home a lot when our husband's been away for months and months on end, and I think it's great for the veterans and for the men serving and the families.
Being able to have the support that is needed available to them in a timely fashion. I think it's really, and their families as well, because I've had a family member that was in the military, and I think it is important for people's families also to have that support.
I think they should be number one priority in looking for housing, any benefits that they need that they're not getting, and I mean, Everybody should respect them a lot more than what they do.
First of all, I think we do a pretty good job in doing so, but if we wanted to extend that, should we have veterans that are in need of transportation? Should we have veterans that are in need of support with other volunteers to help them through their days, getting them around, getting them shopping, just the simple things that make life a lot easier. And any other way that we can honor our veterans, volunteer when there are things to do for our veterans. It's an honorable thing to do. We're very fortunate to have veterans.
Recently, the Vimy Memorial in France, where thousands of Canadian and Newfoundland First World War dead are buried, has been added to the UNESCO list of World Heritage Sites. It's where Canada made a name for itself, fighting for the first time as its own cohesive army. The names of more than 11,000 Canadians who died in battle are forever engraved on its pillars. So we sent our cameras out to ask Canadians what they think of this distinctive World Heritage status. Our question:
what are your thoughts on the Vimy Memorial being designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site?
I think that's a great idea. I think people paid for that with their lives, and I think that should be added to the list of places to visit and to honor.
Well, yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
definitely.
History is important. Look at what's happening. If we don't look at history, then we continue to make the same mistakes like we are right now.
Well, first of all, I wasn't aware of that, but I visited that Vimy Memorial about 30 years ago, and it was one of the most deeply moving experiences of my life, frankly. I still remember it, and it is a special place, and I totally applaud that, and I know that Canadians can feel proud about that.
I think it's fabulous, for Canada to be recognized internationally, right? Having the Vimy Ridge Memorial in France. I just think it's awesome, and people don't realize that history until they actually visit that site and realize the sacrifices that Canadians made during the conflict.
Well, I didn't know it was, to be quite honest, but having had a great uncle who died at Vimy Ridge, I'm in favor of it. I think it's a great idea.
I think that's really important. I think as we've lost all of those veterans that have served in the First World War, I think it's even more important to remember the sacrifice that all of those people made, and so many people lost their lives in the First World War. I think it's absolutely appropriate that is remembered in that way, absolutely.
My grandfather fought in the First World War, which was supposed to be the war to end all wars. So my mind is really on peace and not glorifying war, but yet so many young people died in that effort. So I have no problem with it. That's great that it is being recognized.
Canada became a nation during that campaign, and Vimy especially. But I can't think of any more words than that. It was certainly necessary.
I think it's a great idea. The more exposure we have for Vimy Ridge, the more knowledge will be out there to represent what has taken place, and the sacrifices are beautiful and awesome veterans have sacrificed for.
So it should be a UNESCO World Site. It is hard not to be very emotional when you're there and you think of all the young men and indeed the women who served as nurses who died in that dreadful war. And of course now we've got wars around the world again. So all the more important that we remember their costs.
Perfect. I've been to Vimy. It's an amazing site. It's been very well cared for by the Canadian students that are there running it, and I think it's terrific that it gets that honor.
It's a place that Canada really made its first international name for itself. It's where our men and women went to fight and died in those bloody trenches, which are being repeated today in Ukraine. So the tie-in for me is very emotional, and if it were a heritage site, I think it would give that the respect and admiration it deserves. So
I think that's wonderful. I'm very excited. In fact, next year I'm actually visiting there.
with my husband. So I think it would be a great honor.
Here at the National War Memorial in Ottawa, every year on November 11th, thousands of Canadians come to remember those who have died in battle, those who have come home, and those who continue the fight on our behalf. We sent our cameras out across the country to ask Canadians what they will be doing on this day of remembrance. Our question:
how will you mark Remembrance Day this year?
I'll probably attend the local events in Charlottetown here at the War Memorial, like we do every year, and watch the parade, and just think about how grateful we are.
I always go to a ceremony in my neighborhood. I actually live in Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia, so there's a very big military population there. So the 12-wing Shearwater comes and does a service out near our house. So we go there to that memorial.
Oh, I'll get dressed in my uniform and I'll be down at the cenotaph and I'll be marching with all those Legionnaires and everyone else.
I will attend the ceremonies, but I will also remember my brother, and I will also lay a wreath at the cenotaph.
As I usually do, Remembrance Day is actually the anniversary of my father's death, who also served in the military, and so I usually spend the day thinking about him.
In Australia, we have a dawn service every Remembrance Day, or Anzac Day it's called for us. So
no, we got Remembrance Day as well.
Do Remembrance Day as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we do go to a dawn service and pay the respects through that way.
I think this year I will just take a moment to think and remember how grateful I am that I live in a safe country.
I think I'll buy a poppy. I think I'll try and go to some type of gathering that they might have downtown. I think those people who sacrificed their lives during the various wars, and we benefit, this country has benefited, people have benefited, and we continue to benefit from those sacrifices that made people before us.
Well, we usually go to the Remembrance Day service. My husband and I will have to argue about whether we come down here to the one at the cenotaph here, or whether we go to the one in Esquimalt, which is another municipality just to the west. Yes, there's no end of choices in Victoria for where you can go to Remembrance Day services. Yeah. It's a family tradition because my dad was in the Air Force during the war. Yeah.
I will do what I do every year. I will wear my poppy and observe the time at 11 a.m. and say a quick little prayer for them, the veterans.
Well, I'll probably come down here to the memorial. We usually get a pretty good crowd, and it's another kind of a day. My dad was a British Army veteran. He fought in the Second World War. And so, we always remember him on Remembrance Day, too.
What we always do, we go to the cemetery up in Ross Bay, and we mark it there, and then we watch the show from Ottawa, live from Ottawa and stuff. And my husband hangs out with some of his ex-military friends. He was a submariner for 23 years, so.
I will mark Remembrance Day by remembering my father-in-law's participation. It was a very difficult thing for him to participate, but he did it for not only the freedom of Canadians, but also those across the world.
So I'm from England, so I'm a veteran myself, so I'll be marching in the cenotaph in London in the UK. So very similar to what you do here, we do it in the UK, and it's nice to remember our veterans and our current serving personnel.
I'm a migrant to Canada, so I think it's good for new migrants to understand the history of Canada and to appreciate what we've inherited today.
I will wear a poppy, and I will take the 11 o'clock and stop whatever I'm doing and take a few moments to remember the men and women that have served for us.
We usually go out to the service, to the cenotaph service in Westbank. Last year it was, last couple years it's been canceled, but we like to go to the cenotaph in Westbank.
In my usual, I will be here saying thanks and being and remembering all that they gave for us, for the lives that we get to enjoy now.
How will I mark Remembrance Day? Well, I'm definitely going to be on the side of the streets there in the parade for sure, cheering on my girlfriend and all of our currently enlisted members, definitely.
Well, hopefully going to the cenotaph if my legs hold out. I will be, to celebrate.
Remembrance Day is a very important day to me. I do
feel very strongly, because I spend part of my time in the United States in the winter and here in Canada, and especially with some of the things that are going on right now, that we really need to honor our veterans, and I'm very, very proud of them.
I'll probably just sit back and reflect. Like I am a pretty big war buff. Like, you know, I know about all the history and just reflect on the sacrifices made by our ancestors. So.
This year we usually go with the fire department. I'm a volunteer firefighter for the last 10 years here in the town of Yarmouth, and we usually, a bunch of us get together, come down to the cenotaph downtown here, or usually if the weather's bad, we usually go to the Mariner Center, and so we'll parade around with all the veterans and all the people that are in the Army and Air Cadets and Sea Cadets.
My wife and I, every single year, we always go to the cenotaph in our local town, and it's really, really important that we do that. It's the very least we can do to show our respect for those who have, so many thousands of people have given their lives, the ultimate sacrifice, and many of those who are still living. We need to show pay real honor to them as well.
This year I will do as most years. I will attend a memorial service here in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. We have several choices where we can go should the weather be bad. I will go to our Mariner Center should the weather be good, just outside our library, where we have a beautiful monument for all who have served, and it'd be an honor to be able to attend. I would also like to say to all our veterans, God bless you and thank you for your service.
Remembrance Day is not a national holiday across Canada, but it is a statutory holiday in many parts of the country. Some people may feel that making November 11th a national holiday will take away from its true meaning, while other people may say making it a national holiday would give them a better opportunity to remember and reflect. So, what do you think about this? Our question. Should Remembrance Day be a national holiday?
I'm thinking that we're good with what we do, actually. You know, I think we do a good job at remembering them. Of course, I'm not directly involved, so I'm just a citizen, but I think we're good with the way we are.
But I'm going to say no, actually, because, business goes on. Should there be an hour that people take out of their day, though? Yes, there should. So people should be given some time to mark it. I don't know if they should have a day off.
We have so many holidays. There are many, many great causes. Remembrance Day would be one of them that we might consider adding as a holiday, but I do think these times it's pretty darn tough on individuals who work as well as individuals who run businesses and need staff.
I think it should, because it will make people remember the things that happen. Like a holiday, how else can you show respect for the people that gave up their lives and their health and had a dream that the world would be free someday.
Remembrance Day should be a national holiday. I think it's good because, it's a good. People should take time off to pay their respects.
Yes, I believe it should. Absolutely. It honors our service people from many wars, and it acknowledges the military and the role that they play in our country. And absolutely, I feel that the poppy should be worn on Remembrance Day, and that it should remain a national day.
It absolutely should be. My goodness, it's one day in the year to recognize, again, the sacrifices that were made by men and women in our country's history.
Of course. I can't believe that it's not a national holiday. I can't believe that it's up to the provinces to make this decision when it means so much to everyone.
A national holiday for sure, yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised that it's not. That's crazy.
I didn't realize it wasn't a holiday in all other provinces. But yeah, I definitely think that Remembrance Day needs to remain a national holiday, and people should be, obviously if it's a holiday, then people are going to go and do what they want to do. But, hopefully people will recognize the importance of the day and go out and commemorate it in some way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the Army and veterans is a big part of why this country is the way it is, whether you like it or not, whether it's good or bad to you. I think they should be, ça devrait être souligné, it should be underlined at some point in the year. Yeah, absolutely.
Most of the times that I've actually celebrated Remembrance Day was in a school context, and the teachers talk about it and stuff. So I feel like they turn it into like a holiday where you're at home. I don't know if everyone's family is going to take the time to educate them and stuff on that. So
I agree, especially in like elementary school for young kids. I feel like it's better if they're in school that day because it's a day where like the teachers focus on that and teach about that, and there's an assembly about like soldiers and stuff. So I feel like it's better to be at school that day.
If it's managed well in a way that's like there's something going on during the day, then I think that it's great. But I think that it otherwise undermines the how important it is. Like if kids get a day off school, they're like, "Yay, it's a day off school," and I don't really care about what's happening. So I think that it's important to think about. And I remember always learning on Remembrance Day, learning about kind of what it is, and I think that's important to know what I'm remembering.
No. I think there are other causes that may need a holiday more than Remembrance Day, in my opinion.
I don't think making it a national holiday will add more or detract from the importance of the day.
Yes, I think it should absolutely be a day that we can all set aside time to remember and honor our veterans, for sure.
I know I was lucky enough to be in a good union, and it was always a stat holiday for us, and I think it should be a stat holiday for everybody, just to bring attention to it. And by bringing attention to our past soldiers is bringing attention to our present soldiers, which brings attention to the future of where we're going with the war machine.
Absolutely. I mean, and the further we get away from our own wars, like World War I and World War II, that we're very close to the Canadian, population, families. The further we get away from that, sometimes we have a hard time comprehending just what it was all about. So I think we could keep those, those remembrances alive and never forgetting. And yeah, the national holiday I think is very important.
Thanks for watching this Remembrance Day edition of Outburst on CPAC. If you have any comments about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. I'm Glenn McGuinness, and on behalf of my colleagues at the Cable Public Affairs Channel, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.